over there to the Master of Ceremonies. Ever seen Neil Ghost?
I'm quite pleased to be introducing Andy Lewis because it was on the Quackometer website where I actually first heard about Skeptics in the Pub, and I think it was my prodding of the Birmingham Facebook group that got Adrian to finally start organising them. A group, Andy supposed to think it was called Skepticism, the New Rock and Roll. And it mentioned that there were these groups going on around the country. There was a Facebook group of Birmingham, but it had never actually materialised into a physical meeting.
Wow, that is quite a turnout. I know Birmingham quite well because I was a student here and did my PhD here, so I was here for many, many years, but a long time ago. Let's crack on. What am I going to talk about? I'm not going to talk too much about homeopathy. Are there any homeopaths here this evening? I'm making some assumptions, a few assumptions that this is Skeptics in a Pub, and we're not going to go over old ground really about describing why homeopathy and chiropractic and acupuncture.
The problem is that this guy's got the typical attitude of a lot of these people whereby they just say stuff.
Because you'd love to talk, but guarantee we could ask her to get together with everybody. Well, with Patrick or you, and you just have a little discussion.
Everyone is still here, well, more or less. That's reassuring. I'm going to get some interesting conversations in the break. Any questions? There.
Can you pick up the documentary that you're making with Simon Singh again now that he's obviously got more time?
It feels a bit stale now. It was quite nice. We were sat in his bed. It would be quite. Yeah.
What kind of documentary was this?
Felt very awkward actually. There was a film crew in there and lighting, and good grief. He's really sweet, isn't he? Another question. Back.
Are all chiropractors fake?
Fake? No. That's a really interesting question. Do you know what? That's a really. Why I left the question on is Gary Johnson a fraud? I think that's a really interesting question here because in my studies, I think I would struggle to call anyone I've written about a fraud. Okay. Because people really believe this stuff. Okay. Belief is central to what we call alternative medicine or superstitious medicine, and people are passionate, engaged, but probably just wrong in a lot about things. And what's most interesting is how people defend their beliefs. That's probably one of the most interesting things about it, really. So chiropractic left, okay, and then you take a drop of water and you put it on pills and you sell it to people. And he said, "You're a liar." Because that's obviously fucking crazy. But he was in that group of people that I think are probably getting narrower and narrower who aren't exposed to the arguments for and against. So people are choosing now. But we won't get rid of it because there are people who, throughout the ages, are attracted to these ideas.
I mean, in Leicester, for instance, we have a large Islamic community, and I think religion religious beliefs can take hold and remain there because they keep people enclosed in that community. But when you've got something like homeopathy, where for it to be effective, it's got to be dispersed everywhere. Yeah. Those people are going to be socialising with rational people constantly. Surely we're going to have some effect.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it might shrink. In some areas. I think, but I'm not going to get rid of it. Not at all. I think that's it's part of the human condition. I'll come on to you in a moment. Okay.
This is a pertinent question to this. I just wanted to know whether you're associating osteopathy with chiropractic.
Oh yes. They're just not brave enough to crack. They do some weird things too, and they have lots of vitalistic beliefs. And I think it's a shame that they haven't had so much scrutiny as chiropractors, to be honest, because I think some of the things they do are probably just as dodgy. Like a lot of them are into things like cranial osteopathy and exploiting people with babies.
But a lot of osteopathy is purely mechanical, isn't it? So you can imagine how manipulating bones might release tension.
Yeah, absolutely. Both osteopathy and chiropractic have the advantage over homeopathy of having superficial plausibility. and that gets them a
But
long
are
way.
you also suggesting that anybody who goes to them is gullible? Because people don't have to adhere to the entire structure of whatever it might be if they acknowledge that just a mechanical manipulation.
I think you're creating a false dichotomy of gullible people and rational people here, because I'm sure all of us have used some sort of form of alternative medicine in one form or another, sometimes just out of lack of knowledge of what they are, going back to not knowing essentially what the core beliefs are. So before...
Whether you'd agree with the statement that people who take homeopathic medicines do it out of desperation sometimes?
Yeah. Is it out of desperation? I'm not so sure it's desperation. I think it's more like a lifestyle, to be honest. It's part of how people envision themselves. They are someone who's in tune with the need to be healthy. They are in tune with naturalness. They are in tune with more ancient belief systems. And you see people talking about, I don't go to the doctor. I'm glad we're not in... I did Glasgow Skeptics in the pub the other week and I'd have refused to answer them. Well, I'm an atheist. I find the whole lot, the religious side of things rather boring, really. I think that's why I like writing about alternative medicine. I think it's a more diverse and interesting area. I don't know if it's really connected. But, no. So I went to Oxford Skeptics in the pub last night where Izzy Lawrence gave a very fascinating talk about that sort of thing, about how all of us are actually, superstition is something that runs very deeply through us, right through our lives. And I think there'd be very few of us who could hold up our hands here and say we don't have even quite silly minor things. And she was talking a little bit about how she shared a flat with a Christian who believed in ghosts, and every Friday night they argued about who was going to put the bin liners out, and because she was frightened of the ghosts in the alleyway, and so Izzy just went, well, I'm frightened of the velociraptors out there. and her friend said, are you stupid? Are you frightened of dead things?